Do you have what it takes to rise and revolt? Well, let's find out today as we play Himagsik. In Himagsik, 2 to 4 players must work together against the impending threat of the Spanish forces. Each with different goals, however, players must either win together or lose together. There are 3 ways to win. The group must either get 30 victory points, eradicate all the Spanish forces on the table, or meet your adhikain or secret objective. To set up the table, first you need to lay down the area cards for Binakayan, Dalahican, Imus, and Bacoor, as well as the victory point tracker face up. If you're playing with 3 or 4 players, lay down the Salinas and Malabon area cards through the table as well. Next, shuffle the Mandato, Taktika, and Gaganapan decks respectively and set them on the table. But before that, separate the cards with the name Relentless from the Mandato deck. Depending on the number of Relentless cards, you can play with different difficulties. The more Relentless cards you add to the deck, the tougher the Spanish forces will be. The easiest game mode is to not have Relentless cards in the deck. But if you're feeling the challenge, add in all 8 Relentless cards! Now, take a pick of which general you want to play as. Each general has their own respective special ability and starting resources. For instance, Santiago Alvarez starts with 3 morale, 1 other Katipunero, and 2 Tactica cards in your hand. Take these resources for the start of the game. To add a layer of competition into the game, shuffle the Adhikain deck and then deal 2 cards to each player. Choose one and that will be your secret objective for the game. Keep it secret, you don't want anyone to sabotage you from winning. Next, roll the 2 12-sided dice. You now choose which area to occupy based on the numbers in your roll. If you rolled a 2 and a 5, for example, you get a choice between starting in Binakayan or in Imus. More than one player can occupy an area, but it would leave other areas vulnerable, so choose where to start wisely. After that, Binakayan and Dalahican each start with 2 black Spanish meeples, and Bacoor and Imus each start with 1 black Spanish meeples. Malabon and Salinas start with no Spanish occupying them. Going back to the Tactica deck we set aside, flip up 3 of them and lay them face up on the table. Tactica cards laid out this way can be purchased using morale during play. Next, place fortification tokens on each area. These serve as their life pool. Binakayan, for example, has 5 fortifications. Once these tokens are lost, then the area would be considered taken by the Spanish. That area can still be occupied by players, but they will gain no benefit from doing so. The player in the lowest numbered area takes the first turn. In case there are more than one player in the lowest numbered area, they must break the tie through dice roll, with the higher roll going first. This is what the table would look during a typical game. Now, we can finally start the game. Himagsik is simple and it only takes 4 phases in each player's turn. The draw phase, the buy phase, the flip phase, and the pass phase. During the draw phase, the player must draw 3 Mandato cards. The Mandato cards are the main way for you to declare movement for the turn. You now need to play a Mandato card. A thing to remember is that all the players must follow the lead of the person taking the turn, so when you choose a Mandato card, then all the players must commit to it as well. In this instance, the deploy Mandato will have everyone follow the main effect on the top, to deploy a Katipunero clockwise starting from the player to your left. Once it's your turn to resolve the effect, you must also resolve the leader effect indicated on the card. Once you finish resolving these effects, return the remaining 2 Mandato cards you drew to the bottom of the Mandato deck. The next phase is the buy phase. During this step, you can buy face-up Tactica cards on the table based on the cost indicated at the top of the card. You can buy as many Tactica cards as you can afford using your morale, but be forewarned, once you drop to 0 morale, you can never gain any again under any circumstances. Note that if everyone drops to 0 morale, then you all lose the game. Now, each time you buy a Tactica card, You must immediately refresh it by flipping up a new Tactica card from the top of the Tactica deck and laying it down face up on the table. There should always be 3 Tactica cards face up unless you run out of cards in the Tactica deck. Finally, we get to the flip phase. During the flip phase, you must flip up 2 Kaganapan cards. Do note that you need to flip each card one at a time and resolve them as they come. Kaganapan cards are usually divided into 3 steps. First, you roll the 2 12-sided dice. Depending on the result, you need to resolve the indicated effects. Note that each die counts for a result, meaning if you rolled a 3 and an 8, you'll need to resolve both the odd number and the even number effect on the Kaganapan card. While resolving these effects, you may use a Tactica card in response, and then resolve those as well. For instance, if the Bolster Forces Kaganapan is flipped, you can use the Stockade Tactica to prevent the Spanish from being deployed in your area. Repeat this step until you've resolved both Kaganapan cards. Finally, pass play to the player to your left and they take their turn. There are 3 ways for everyone to lose. A. Binakayan and Dalahican loses all its fortification tokens and is taken by the Spanish. B. A total of 4 areas lose all fortifications and are taken by the Spanish. Or C. All generals drop to 0 morale. Simple, right? Now let's rise and revolt.